What's up, everybody? Azariel here, and welcome to another Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 ban list review. Going to be taking a look at all the new changes that will be coming to the new format starting January 1st and lasting until March 31st of 2015, which is literally right around the corner. We're like weeks away, like 1 week away, like 1 or 2 weeks away from the new year, so it's going to be interesting to see what is coming to the game. There's been a lot of new cards that have came in, a lot of new motifs that have been introduced via new archetypes, and like the game is really interesting again. So I'm really curious to see what changes they're going to bring at the top of the new year. Now, I did peep at this list. Like, I didn't even know that the list was out yet, but I did take a look at it for about like 2 seconds, but I didn't see any changes. So everything is going to be new to me as it is to you. So without further ado, man, let's get started. So see what they changed it. Man, any new cards got banned. Super polymerization got banned. I'm not surprised at that at all. I mean, we have a fusion card that can take your opponent's cards, and they can't do anything about it. I mean, that's bound to happen. But you guys still have, something like Dark Core. You still have Dimensional Prison. You still have ways to get rid of your opponent's card. Something more so Dark Core. The reason why I think they banned polymerization was because of the shadows. You have people that pretty much like super polymerization is like an easier version of their field spell card, which allows you to pretty much do the same thing. You can take one of their monsters, and depending on the attribute, that's the fusion monster, you'll be able to summon. But I think that's why they got rid of that. I mean, it could be for other reasons, but that's the only card that they banned. Now to look at cards that they limited. Artifact Moral Talk. I'm not surprised that the artifacts got hit. I think it's kind of late for that, truth be told. I mean, even though like they're doing like a lot quicker formats, and instead of every 6 months, like they're doing it every 3 months, I just think this was like far too late with all the new stuff that came in. Like the artifacts are pretty much getting to the point where they're obsolete. Like that stuff doesn't even matter anymore, and doing something to Moral Talk at this point was like, nah, whatever, So you're pretty much limiting a card that nobody was really using. So that's how I see it. So that's like a so-so whatever. What else do they limit? Dark Strike Fighter is coming back. Wow. They bring back Dark Strike Fighter. Well, I'm guessing people are going to try to make OTKs and fucking infinite loops again. But I'm not surprised that Dark Strike Fighter came back. I mentioned during my Excel Synchron card review that it kind of reminded me of Dark Strike Fighter, and I just had a feeling, for whatever reason, I had a feeling that Dark Strike Fighter was going to make a return, and I was right. So Dark Strike Fighter, they made his comeback, just like Raigeki last format. It's crazy, man, and they're bringing back older cards that were pretty much broken. Like, why are they bringing these broken cards back? I have no clue. I guess they're trying to make a quick buck. I don't know if this is going to be like a Sixth Sense situation, but I guess we got to see. Like with Sixth Sense, like they did bring it back for one format just to see how well it was going to do, and it was just as broken as ever, and they banned that shit in the very next format. And it's because of Sixth Sense that they started actually doing the 3-month formats so that they can correct those mistakes a lot quicker. So yeah, that's the interesting fact that a lot of y'all don't know. So I don't know if that's going to be like the same situation with Dark Strike Fighter, because Dark Strike Fighter had this infinite loop back in the day and I can't necessarily remember how it went, but the result was that you could keep inflicting effect damage onto your opponent or something like that, and it was just like an infinite loop, and you just kept doing it until you won the duel. So I don't know if there's cards in the game that were working with that infinite loop back then. I don't know if they have similar cards like that in the game today that work with Dark Strike Fighter to that extent, because a lot of the cards, they have effects now where you can only use their effect once per turn, and you know, so that probably can lessen the amount of times they can do the burn damage. But you know, only time will tell. So Dark Strike Fighter made a return. What else they limited? Sacred Sword. Oh, Snatch is still. Wow, dude. Why they freaking Snatch still back? Like what? I mean, I guess because it. Wait a minute, man. I gotta look up Snatch Steal because I don't even remember what the effect of that was. I think Snatch Steal like gave your opponent's life points, gave your opponent life points, depending on how long you kept their monster. Let me see. If I'm not mistaken, that's how it went. Like Snatch Steal did that. Come on, dude. Thank you. Taking forever in the day. Okay, Snatch Steal. What the hell is this? Okay, shit. Fix this, man. I apologize for all that. This is stupid ads popping up. Anyway, say equip only to a monster your opponent controls. Take control of the equipped monster during each of your standby phases. They gain. Yeah, okay. So pretty much it's like a well, in a way, like it's kind of like a combination between mind control or brain control and Upstart Goblin. Like for those who never seen Snatch Steal in action, that's pretty much what it's like. And yeah, it gives your opponents life points. So maybe that's what influenced their decision on whether or not to bring it back. But nevertheless, man, that's crazy. So we got Dark Strike Fighter making a return, Snatch Steal making a return. The last couple formats we had YuGiOh Guardian make a return, and we seen Raigeki. All four of these cards were banned from the game years ago because of what they did. I guess times have changed, and you know, they aren't as much of a threat as what they once were. So again, I'm hoping that they do something to where they can stay in the game. You know, it'll be nice to see those older cards come back, especially with like the new synchro monsters and all of that in the game now, and all the new monsters that can make synchro monsters. I'm hoping that Dark Strike Fighter is getting set to get put into that, or in some well, when Synchron Extreme comes to the United States, or when Synchron Extreme comes to the TCG, they probably are going to try to sell Dark Strike Fighter with it, or try to do something to try to advertise Dark Strike Fighter as something to buy with Synchron Extreme. I don't know. But again, like I said about that, it all depends on if Dark Strike Fighter is still broken like it was for them to that caused them to ban it in the first place. With Snatch and Steal, well, I call it Snatch and Steal. With Snatch Steal, you know, if your opponent has Nurse Reficule on the field, that's like 1,000 every, you know, turn of damage to your opponent. So I don't know, man. We'll see. So yeah, Snatch Steal. So now we go to the semi-limited, and Honest is semi-limited. It was limited, so they didn't put Honest at 2. Well, there goes the fucking party. Well, with YuGiOh Guardian, I'm not too mad at that. I mean, they put another level 6 standard summoning condition synchro monster into the game. So, and then on top of that, like YuGiOh Guardian just isn't as broken as it once was. You know, again, times have changed. It's so easy to get YuGiOh Guardian off of the field now. Pretty much, you don't even have to worry about YuGiOh Guardian's Monster Reborn effect like that anymore. You know, Monster Reborn has been banned since like what, last year, and as well as a lot of other cards like that. It's just not as good as it used to be. It's still good. I still think it's one of the best synchro monsters. You know, I still think that its level is far too low for its attack, because its attack is 2800, and normally when you see an attack like that, it would be with like a level 7 or like a level 8 monster, if that. So to have a monster that's level 6 with standard summoning conditions that any body can, or pretty much with any build can summon. You know, it has no specific tuners or no specific non-tuner material monsters to use. It has 2800 attack. It's only level 6, and the monster that it destroys gets summoned to your side of the field. So it's really good for a level 6 monster. It's too good for a level 6 monster. But now it's not as good as it once was. So I guess they felt that it was just time to semi-limit it. And who knows, maybe next format they're going to unlimit it. So only time will tell. Next up we have, what was it, Dark Hole or Chain Strike? I think that's Dark Hole. Okay, so the semi-limited Dark Hole. I mean, I guess since they brought back Raigeki, I guess it wasn't, I mean, I guess it's not as bad. I mean, since more people are just going to be, you know, using Raigeki anyway, because there's no risk with your monsters being destroyed as it is with Dark Hole. So that's no, to me, that's no surprise as well. I mean, like, I wasn't expecting it, but I'm not surprised that they did it. So Dark Hole, Honest, and YuGiOh Guardian are all semi-limited now. Alright, and now for the creme de la creme. Let's see what's unlimited. Oh man, well, unlimited now, Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. Not surprised. I don't know why. I think that should have stayed semi-limited. That's just my opinion. Oh well. Mermail, Abyssgun. I don't even think people care about the mermails anymore. I mean, ever since Diamond Dust came out, they don't last. Diamond Dust destroys all water monsters on the field and then inflicts burn damage to your opponent. I can't remember by how much, depending on how many of the water monsters were destroyed. So ever since that trap card came out, the mermails and every other water build out there has just been at risk. You know, so people are pretty much scared to play the mermails now because of Diamond Dust, because you could just activate that, burn them, and they got to lose all their monsters. So yeah, it's just ridiculous. That Diamond Dust is a mermail killer, and people just scared to use it. So I mean, it's good for the mermail users out there, you know, that you get your Abyss Gun back, but it was limited, you know. That's whatever to me, you know, because I got ways to get rid of the mermail. So for me and other people that think like me, that's not a problem that they unlimited that monster. Now Reborn Tengu, this is a different story. I think that this was logical, like a logical decision that they made to unlimit Reborn Tengu, for the simple fact that, you know, with Synchron Extreme, you know that they're going to do everything that they can. With the introduction of Synchron Extreme and OCG, you know, like, you know, like the TCG is going to prepare to receive that structure deck. And you know, people, I mean, you know that people are going to be gearing towards synchro summons a lot more, and they semi-limited Reborn Tengu for the simple fact that it was kind of overpowered for what it did at 3, but when they slowed it down and they put it at 2, it kind of helped out a bit, and people just waned from it little by little. They kind of swayed from it little by little, and so that's it is with Reborn Tengu. I think it was a wise decision because, I mean, again, I make judgment calls on how good or bad something is in Yu-Gi-Oh based on the common sense of competition and the common sense of business. So I'm looking at both sides here. For competition, it's good. Reborn Tengu comes back. Nobody uses Reborn Tengu anymore because, again, they got better synchro material monsters out there. Even though Reborn Tengu is still, even though I never used it, I've seen it in action when it was at its best, and I've seen it in action back when it was at its worst. And people like Reborn Tengu is a very good synchro material card. It helps. Not only that, but it's good tribute fodder, which is good for the Monarchs in case anybody felt like using it. Then again, the Monarchs don't really need it, but still, it's still good tribute fodder for the Monarchs, as well as other builds out there that need tributes, such as the Cleforts, but they have, pendulum summons at their disposal, so they don't really need Reborn Tengu, but it's still helpful to keep something on the field. And all you have to do is have it removed from the field. It doesn't matter where it goes. You can just special summon another one from your deck. The only risk with running 3 of those is that if you have all 3 in your hand, you got to find some way to put them back in your build. Otherwise, you're just not going to, otherwise you're going to be asked out. So like as far as Reborn Tengu goes, was a smart move. I think with the synchro monsters coming, it wasn't a bad decision for them to bring it back. So I have no negative feelings about that. Reasoning, that's another one. It's not even a card that needed to be semi-limited or limited anymore. It's just one of those cards where it's just like, why is this limited again? You know what I mean? It's just not there yet. I could see the potential in this being a bad thing, but then again, that's with every card. Like I said, the exact same thing with Dark Strike Fighter. If it ends up being as broken as it was that caused them to ban it in the first place, then it's going to be gone next format. Or at least it should be. Just like they did with Sixth Sense. It was hit for one format and then it was gone the next. So the only way I could see reasoning being a bad thing is that with reasoning, you allow your opponent to determine the level of the monster that will get milled. And if they call it right and the monster gets milled to the graveyard, or that card gets sent to the graveyard, or that monster gets sent to the graveyard, excuse me, and it has that level that your opponent called out, then it goes to the graveyard as well as all the other cards that you sent that you picked up. But if they call it wrong, and the first monster that you pick up off the top of your deck, okay, so let's say for example with reasoning, your opponent says that the monster that you're going to, like the first monster that you're going to pick up that you can special summon is a level 4, and then you pick up a level 8 monster, then you'll be able to special summon it. But if they call it right, then you would have to send it to the graveyard. That right there, sending monsters to the graveyard, if they call it right, if there was an archetype that can abuse that so bad, then I could see reasoning being a bad thing. And I think there's a couple cards that can do that. It's a couple monsters in the game that can abuse being sent to the graveyard like that. I think they call them like the Sylvans. That archetype hasn't seen the light of day in so damn long. I think they could benefit from a card like Reasoning a lot, so maybe they're bringing it back to try to get that archetype back up and running, because, I don't know, like maybe they're unlimited for that reason, or maybe they just are unlimiting it because It's just not that much of a threat anymore. It really isn't. It's just so. And the Transmigration of Prophecy, that card that doesn't even get used anymore. That's like, you can look at that trap card in the same way that you look at a normal monster. Like, there's no reason to do anything to it. You know, it's just there. Or at least nobody has found a way to use it properly yet. It's just there. Transmigration Prophecy is just one of those cards people just don't use at the moment. And they haven't for many, many years. People just, they just don't care. So, it was no reason to keep that card limited. Or even semi-limited. People just never bothered with it. You know, even when it was semi-limited, people just didn't care. When was the last time you seen that card in action? I rest my case. So, overall, man, I think they made some surprising fucking decisions. I think they probably seen the response from, I don't know if they have like a forum or something, which I think they do, but I don't know if they actually have a forum or anything where people go there and they, you know, speak about like the changes. Like, I'm sure they do. They have it somewhere. Pojo forums and, you know, various other YuGiOh dueling network forums and whatever. I'm pretty sure Konami or the people who are in charge of this list was paying attention, and they seen the response with Raigeki and all of that, and maybe they decided that they wanted to pull some more surprises. You know, that's why Dark Strike Fighter is back, and you got Goro Garden in this thing. The only thing I'm not too crazy about with it, besides Transmigration of Prophecy and all the other unlimited cards, the only thing I'm not too crazy about is Artifact Mortal Talk. I don't really see the purpose in doing that. Truth be told, like, I really don't. I don't see the purpose in limiting it because it's too late. It's like trying to correct the mistake when the mistake isn't even an issue anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that the archetype was like a mistake or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, that level of unnecessary action, that's the way I look at them limiting Moral Talk now. It's like, yeah, if you would have did it, you know, so like this long ago, then maybe it would have made sense. Now it's just like, Moral Talk isn't an issue. Is not even an issue for you to limit it, or at least I never seen it as an issue. You know, because I don't know, maybe the way I seen Moral Talk being used, I never thought it was anything that would get the card limited. But really, I digress. You know, it happened. It is what it is. So, I mean, I can't really say too much. Dark Strike Fighter, pretty much like the two big surprises is that Dark Strike Fighter, and like even more so than Honest being at 2. When was the last time Honest was at 2? Like, literally, like, when was the last time Honest has even seen a twin in the same build? I mean, this is good for light builds, don't get me wrong, because I think honestly, I don't think they need it, but honestly, oh well, you got it, so be happy. Goyo Guardian at 2, I mean, hey, you got more Goyo. So, Dark Hole being at 2, people use Raigeki anyway, so people gonna use that, and I don't know, like, running 2 Dark Holes would pretty much be too much, you know, especially since they have all these monsters that can't be destroyed by battle or by card effects. Cards like Dark Hole and Raigeki just aren't a threat like that anymore, so. And then you run with Dark Hole, you run the risk of not wow, I didn't even realize that my music stopped. Anyways, but yeah, you don't run the risk with Dark Hole, like, you run the risk of losing your monsters as well. So because of that, I think that's another thing that influenced their decision. It's not as quote unquote good as Raigeki is. So they just felt like, hey, add another one, right? You know, but the big shocker is, I would have to say, more so than Snatch Steal, was Dark Strike Fighter. Because anybody who's been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Since the beginning, when it first came to the TCG back in 2002, I was one of them. and play that game all the way up until when Dark Strike Fighter was first introduced. And even after that, you guys know how bad Dark Strike Fighter was in this game. And anybody who wasn't around during that time, the card was banned. So you know it had to do something ridiculous for them to even ban it. You know what I mean? And they brought it back. So my hands up. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with it. Between this and Snatch Steal, this is one hell of a list, man. You know. So with that being said, man, that was my review of the new format coming January 1st, lasting to March 31st next year. And man, this is going to be a crazy format. This is going to be a very edgy format. Yeah, it's going to be very edgy. I see a lot more synchro builds being made. Man, at least with that, I can say that we're going to be getting more variety in terms of builds. You know, people are going to be using more synchro builds. You know, of course, people are going to be still using Exceed builds. People are still going to be using Fusion builds. You know, because they brought new stuff into those respected categories for people to want to use them. So yeah, is what it is. No, they're not released. No, they still haven't released Stratos. Stratos ain't coming back. You know, but then again, they brought Dark Strike Fighter, so I guess anything is possible. Who knows? Maybe next format, like we might see Trishula make a return. You know, chances are that we might see Chaos and Dragon make a return one day. I don't know. You know, but I think those two cards were a lot worse than Dark Strike Fighter. The Super Polymerization is gone. That's all they decided to do. Man, the Dark Strike Fighter. This is going to be an interesting format. So, thank you guys for watching. The link to the list will be in the video description. You guys can check it out for yourself. So tell me what you think about the new format and everything, man. I can't wait to hear from you guys and hear your opinions on all this. What builds do you think they're going to be remade now that these cards are back in the game and that certain cards got unlimited? You know, and what do you think is going to happen with the game in this format? I just think it's going to be fun all around. I think it's going to be annoying in some parts, but I think it's going to be, you know, for the most part, it's just going to be fun. You know, so that being said, peace. I'll see you guys next time.